piece by piece here.
Go ahead. Here's EN-98. We're gonna go through the assembly of all the parts in EN-98.
All right, so you got some other mount pieces and stuff here that's in the box. We're gonna get to that kind of later, move that out of the side. This is all the basic tools you're gonna need. 99% of all this is all gonna be metric, except for some little screws that are gonna go into here, which will be with this. But you got a 5, 4, 3, and a 2.5. Just move our tools out of the way here for a minute. Start our assembly. We could probably start with mounting the camera and everything. So you're gonna get this little baggie in there, and it's gonna include just some lubrication and 2 little screws. The lubrication, I've already put it on here, but you're just gonna take a little dab on your finger, and it's gonna go along this edge here on the inside. That's so when you put this bezel piece in, it slides in and it compresses the O-ring to the correct amount. You don't have to worry about torquing anything. This will seal as long as it's inserted into the tube straight and the O-ring does not roll over. That's what the lube is for. So we'll just open that now. I'm just going to take the 2 screws from that. Next up, we're going to take our front bezel piece here. This is what we mount the camera to. This is what most of your heat and everything's going to be dissipated through. And it is square, so you could go this way, this way, this way. It doesn't matter, it's all the same. So we're just gonna flip it over, and this top marker here is from when you go to insert this piece. You want this to line up with this line. That's gonna help you with these longer screws that have to go through here. So this is gonna be all the screws and hardware that you're gonna need. These screws are eventually gonna go through here, and they'll have to line up with some tapped holes that are at the bottom. This is just for visual alignment purposes. So put this together, we're just gonna turn that kind of on its face, and we're gonna make sure that these holes are lined up with the tinier holes here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this the top of our camera, just for alignment purposes. Now we can kind of set it on its back, and we're gonna take these flathead screws.
Could you just hold one of the screws up to the camera, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm just going to start each of them before I tighten any of them down, just in case it has to twist at all. Just make sure we're getting good thread engagement on all of them. And then we can start to tighten them all down.
Phillips head screws.
Correct? Yep. Nothing metric here for that. I mean, they're metric screws, but you don't need any special driver with them. So now we've got all this. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect the camera, and that's going to be with these 2 cables that are inside here, these internal cables. So you have this one that's going to your RJ45 and this other one that is going to go to this RS connector. So we're just going to take them, and I like to do this one first because it's longer, makes it easier. We'll plug that in.
So that's the IO cable.
Yeah. And these are going to be Phillips drive as well. I'm going to start both of them before I tighten either of them down, just so that we don't get anything off center or anything like that. And these are just going to be hand tight. You don't really need to crank on them. It's just to hold this in. And because we already lubed this, now we can go to do our insert process, and we're going to connect this piece here. Sorry, kind of twist it around here. We're going to connect that. That's just going to click in.
Ethernet.
Yep.
Okay.
And usually what I'll do is I'll twist this once around so that the cables will kind of group themselves together. We're going to go straight in, and we're going to go until this face bottoms out. We'll slide in, and now we're going to put these screws in. We're going to drop these in, and that's why we have our mark here, because these should all line up with the threads in the bottom now. Take our 5mm Allen key, and we can start all these now. Just want to make sure each of them are started before I really start to tighten any of them down. Now they're all started, so we know that we're in the threads. We won't have to rotate it at all. And this is just to hold the front and back together. You don't need to super tighten it. Tightening these over tight will not help it seal any better. The seal is all done based off of that O-ring fitting inside the tube. we're just going to go until these are all tight. This is just to prevent it from ever separating from front to back. Now we're done with that. Now we can take our lens piece. I'm going to leave the cover on because we're going to ship this. I'm just going to leave it on here, just like you would with your regular camera. You go until it goes in. Now normally, this is when we would put our lens cover piece on and we'd screw it in. But because we have an air curtain on here, we are going to set this up first and then screw on the whole device. We will leave it loose so that we can adjust it to whatever position we actually want it to. So we're just gonna, it'll come together in the package. We're gonna unscrew it. Unscrew it all the way.
It's a 3mm.
So this is going to be a 2.5mm Allen key, and these are M4 screws. We're going to take that off. We're going to take this. I'm going to kind of lay out everything here so they can see all that. But I'm going to take these screws. I'm going to try to leave those in there for right now for when I go to line it up. It's a little complicated, but it's not ridiculous. I just want them sticking up a little bit through here. Then I'm going to take this lens cover with the glass facing forward, and I'm going to flip it over. It's going to sit into here, and you'll note that there's a chamfer on here, and that is where this O-ring is going to sit into. So you're going to drop that O-ring on here, making sure it's inside of all these, the inside edge sitting in that groove. And then you're going to take this piece. You'll notice that there's a chamfer on one edge and not on the other. There's a small chamfer here just for an edge break. You'll want this bigger chamfer towards the inside. You're going to line that up, and it can go this way, it doesn't matter as long as these holes are lining up. It's the same bolt pattern all the way around.
And to be clear, the O-ring's not really doing any sealing.
No.
It's more just a friction.
Yeah, it's
compression
for
fit.
Tightening on here. We did not want to have it as a clamp design like this is because we're directly over where the glass is.
Yeah.
If we were going to do something like this, it would probably crush the glass before it would hold tight enough.
Okay.
So now we'll kind of pick this up all as one piece. Those screws are going to come out, and that's okay. I'm just going to keep tension on it while it's upside down here. I'm just going to start each of these. I don't want to go super tight right now because for right now we're just going to do this so that it's sitting on here. We are going to take it back apart once we do our final assembly.
Yeah, because you don't know when you screw in the cover.
We don't know when we go to screw this where it's going to finish out at.
Right. I have one question. Do you put any lubrication on that O-ring?
No, I don't put any on there because it's not sealing to anything. It won't need it.
By that O-ring, I mean the O-ring on the lens cover.
On this lower one?
Yeah, that one.
You can if you want. So this is a tube style seal. So it's just compressing up against it by tightness. It's not actually inserting itself like the other one did.
Okay, so it won't roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're just going to get this hand tight for right now. And then we're going to adjust our position. So we'll keep going. It'll almost bottom out because it's a 45 style pipe seal. And now I'm just going to line this up to wherever I want that exit position. I'm going to put it on top.
Perfect.
I'm going to put it on top for right now, and we'll have to see where it ends up later. So we can start to tighten these down. You want to do like a star pattern, kind of like you would on a tire. Just keep going piece by piece, tightening them. These don't need to be super tight. This is just to prevent it from sliding off. So as you're tightening these, you are compressing that O-ring that's there, so it's gripping tighter and tighter onto the front of the lens cover. You just don't want to go so hard that you're going to strip these out. This is all stainless hardware. Stainless hardware will always be prone to stripping. And then, yeah, we're on top. And you can swivel this connector in any direction. You just want to make sure that the nut part on here is tight, but the actual piece can swivel. in any direction you want it to exit. And the last thing we're going to do is going to be with the mount that's on here. Open up our kit. It's got all of our parts and stuff in it. That's the hardware. Here's our base piece, blower, here's our swivel. Now we've got all these pieces here. And we're gonna open up our hardware bag. And we're not gonna use everything that's in here because we have metric and standard parts in here. So the first thing we're gonna wanna do is on the bottom, right now we've elected to use the 1/4-20. You guys could use also the M6 if you wanted that on the bottom, depending where you want it. You can rotate this mount ring just with a 5mm Allen key. You could loosen these and swivel the entire camera enclosure, depending where you want it. But for our purposes right now, we're going to mount to the 1/4-20s that are on the bottom. You can mount this either way, so you can either line it this way or this way. Doesn't matter, it just matters which way you want the thing to be able to tilt more. If you want it to be able to tilt more up or more down, this direction would be to tilt more down. This is going to be to tilt more up. We're going to take, there's hardware in here. There's going to be 1/4-20 and there's going to be M6, both of which can fit through. So here's like an M6, it could go through there, or you can use a 1/4-20, also can go in here. We're going to use 1/4-20 for our purposes because that's what the threads are on the bottom. And I'm going to get a key.
So that's actually got an English hex in it, right?
Yeah. If you're using the metric hardware, it'd be whatever the metric driver is on here, which I believe is 3mm. But the English hardware is going to be pretty similar. It's going to be an 1/8, which is almost 3mm anyway. We're going to have, just to avoid stripping anything out right now, we're going to use the correct size. Just tighten those. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to assemble our base piece. So this is going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to take this O-ring piece here. This isn't for sealing, this is just for friction, so when you go to spin it around, we aren't just sliding on the two smooth aluminum surfaces. We're going to take that O-ring, just kind of lightly press it into here. It's not going to sit all the way down, it's going to sit slightly above. That's what's giving you your friction. We're going to take our base piece, it's going to go into the bottom here. We're going to line up the two through holes that are here. We're going to line them up with these holes that are here. And we're going to take these short flathead cap screws and they're going to go through here. And we're going to use a 4mm driver. We're just going to lightly snug these for right now. So now it's all one piece, but you can slide it into whatever direction you want. Let's say we line up our little thing here, let's say 50 degrees, just for our purposes right now. And then we'll tighten this down to the direction that we want. So we'll get that nice and snug. And if you're going to go onto a rail, a metric rail, that's what these are for. They go through into whatever you want. These are countersunk flathead cap screws. They're a 90-degree angle, so they're metric. And we'd go onto whatever rail you want. You'd mount that in whatever position. And then we'd go to mount our camera piece here. For our purposes right now, normally you'd take this and you'd move it into position, but so that we can see what's happening, we're going to leave it upside down for right now. This expanding pin here is going to slide into this hole.
Can you get that on the side or
yeah.
Show me? There you go.
And then we're going to take a 5mm key and whatever angle you want that to be at. I'm just going to snug it down right now just so that we can set it somewhere. You'll just want to snug this up here. And yeah, and then you can go about from there and you could loosen this. I'm going to bring this to the edge of the table here. But you can loosen that, get whatever angle position you want, be aiming there. You can loosen it up, twist that up, be there, whatever angle that you want.
Great. So there's the assembly of the EN-98. Thank you.